My name is Bart Sullivan. I am the radio and ICT specialist at Farm Radio International. Farm Radio International is a Canadian-based NGO that supports radio stations across Africa to train broadcasters and provide resources for improving their radio programs for agriculture. Farmers learn from other farmers, and that's often how they decide if they're going to adopt a practice or not adopt a practice. So since interactivity was such a key function in these radio campaigns, we were looking for a tool that could help us gather the voices of farmers along the way and get them more involved on the radio, get their voices on the radio. So Freedom Fone ended up being a perfect tool for us because the very simple leave a message function allowed us to creatively start to harvest those voices without necessarily always having to go to the village. So in Tanzania we had a competition where we called it the Cuckoo Hotline, and that was part of the Radio Maria's campaign, where towards the end of the campaign we opened up the phone lines and we said, we'd like to hear from farmers, we'd like to hear from you. How have you applied this knowledge that you've been hearing on the radio, and how do you plan to? And so we got about 1,300 phone calls of farmers who wanted to let us know their story in under 2 minutes. And those voices, then we had a little competition. We said the top 20 voices and stories we're going to rebroadcast on the air and also send you a t-shirt. And people got pretty excited about that, and we had some fantastic colorful stories that just added this dimension of realness and farmers' voices to the radio.
La ushindani lilikuwa linasema kwamba baada ya kupata elimu ya ufugaji bora kuku asili unapanga kufanya nini? Karibuni sana.
Jina langu Mandela, nataka nipanue banda. Mandela nipo Arusha, lakini nimebanda. So niongeze kufuga wa kienyeji na nipate mayai kwa wingi niweze kuuza, nisomeshe watoto wangu na mambo mengi tu nitafanya. Asante.
Kwanza kabisa kuwajengea kuku wangu nyumba iliyo bora na pia kuwatunza vizuri, na naamini watakapotaga wataongezeka, watazaliana vizuri, na pia nitauza mayai na kuku, na hapo ndipo nitakapo pata pesa za kuwatunza vizuri, na hela zingine zitakazobaki basi nitafungua akaunti ili kuwasomesha watoto wangu. Mimi jina langu naitwa Neema Amos Mbise, niko Morogoro, Kionda. Namba zangu za simu ndio hizo hapo. Haya, asanteni.
Mpenzi msikilizaji, natumaini unaendelea kupata elimu.
One of the drawbacks of radio on its own is that if you miss information, if you miss a broadcast, you miss information. If you miss a broadcast, something happens in that time. Maybe it's market prices, maybe it's some advice, something like that. So we wanted to find a way to, because our radio programs were just once a week, we wanted to find a way to make that available after the broadcast had finished. So what I call off-air or on-demand listening. So we were able to use the voice menu function of Freedom Fone to put key information available on demand, and we had market prices for 3 different regional markets in the Volta region in Ghana in 2 different languages, in Twi and Ewe, so Akan and Ewe. And it was a chance for farmers to make a decision about where am I going to sell my produce. But the Freedom Fone is it's like a buffer, or it's like a new technology between your listeners and your broadcasters. It allows your citizen journalists to get involved in the process and get their stories on the air. It allows individual broadcasters and presenters to host their own sort of area on the Freedom Fone, so they can have special, their voices can be there when a caller calls in, they hear the presenter, because often the presenters are very popular and are sort of celebrities, so they can they can almost create their own little virtual spaces for the radio, specifically for their listeners. If it's for a competition or for, song of the day, vote for the song of the day. There's a feature in Freedom Fone that lets you have SMS polls. At the radio station, also just keeping the service up to date is a bit of a challenge for some of the radio stations. It takes a lot of work to keep a market price program or keep a weather report or to update that information on a regular basis, but radios are really well suited for that because they're doing it anyways to their listeners. So you can just sort of grab some audio you've already recorded to broadcast and make it, edit it a little bit and package it and put it on the Freedom Fone. So I think with time, some best practices, as more people use it, more best practices will come on how to use it with Freedom Fone, use the radio with Freedom Fone. But I'm convinced that it's one of the best tools in Africa for radio stations, especially community radio stations.